If you're a multi-passionate person and you feel like your multiple interests and passions and all of your ideas bring you more pain than pleasure and peace, and they're pulling at you from all different directions, keeping you up at night, then I think what I'm about to tell you is going to help you. Who am I? I'm Dr. Kawal Hassan. I have a PhD in Government and International Studies, and I read history and philosophy, political philosophy. Just last week, I realized जो political philosophy के और political strategy के principles हैं, they are based on becoming effective leaders for a whole nation or an empire, right? Or leading an army or fighting an enemy. But the feelings and the things that we struggle with as an individual are exactly the same things, because we have enemies, we have our personal battles that we fight every single day. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. And so I thought, you know what? Why am I not blending this together? Because there's definitely connection there. There's a connection there. And so I was reading Niccolo Machiavelli's. Now this is disclaimer. This is not a history lesson. I'm speaking without any notes. I didn't bring my notebook here. Machiavelli is a Renaissance period political philosopher from Florence, Italy. And at the time, in the 1500s, हो क्या रहा था कि सारी जो city states थी उस वक्त, there was a lot of political turmoil, there was fragmented society, and what Niccolo Machiavelli saw as a diplomat, he realized that there was a need for tough love, there was a need for a leader that could unify Italy, and there was a need for a leader who could be brutal and deceitful to his enemies for the love of the state. And there were a lot of political scientists and philosophers who came after him for saying that centuries later after he died, because what he was suggesting was not moral. What he was suggesting was reach an end by any means necessary, right? That was his political overarching philosophy. 3 key learnings that you and I, as a multi-passionate person, can take from his ideas. Lesson number 1 from Niccolo Machiavelli's book, The Prince. How do we take that concept and apply that to ourselves to govern ourselves better? That sounds good. Govern ourselves. That's smart. That we can be led by an anti-vision instead of being led by a vision. So, how can we build fear around our multiple interests and let that lead us? Because you see, the thing about humans, sometimes when we're scared, we're on the move. We move when we're scared. For example, imagine there's a bunny running after you. How fast are you going to run? Are you scared of the bunny? You're not going to run. And you can't climb up a tree and save your butt, essentially, because a bunny's running after you, right? But what if a lion is running after you? And a lion is going to rip you apart and eat you. And so you're running, and you're going to put all your force and all your energy to climb up a tree. Cover. Lions can climb up trees. You're dead anyway. That was a bad example, but you get the idea. Fear makes you move. I may not have the best structure, but I have the goods. The packaging is under construction, and the construction is happening right in front of you. Where would you not want to be with your multiple passions जो भी संभाल के रखे हुए अपने दिमाग में? Where do you not want to be? What do you not want to become? Do you have real life examples of people around you in your life who did not go after the thing that more turtles? What is the fear that you can pick as your anti-vision and a place where you don't want to be 6 months from now? Let's say your multiple passions are, and I'll tell you how you can get strategic with it. So let's say your multiple passions are swimming, podcasting, you want to start a podcast, and fitness or health food. Fear becomes, 1 year from now, if I don't have a podcast, if I don't start a podcast, and if I don't funnel all of my passion through these other interests that I have into, that's a place I don't want to be. And so that fear of being in the same place will get you to move. And when people move when we're scared, but you get the idea. Sometimes you need fear to move you. That was lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is that don't let your enemy decide your narrative. What was it? Do people have notes when they do this? This one doesn't. So don't let others create a narrative for you. Narrative? Don't let others create a narrative for you. You get to create your narrative. Now, as a multi-passionate person, you have to reframe the way that you talk to yourself. And I can't stress this enough. The guilt that you have, the guilt that I had, I feel so passionately about this because I was in this place a year ago. And I found a way to function, and I found a way to lead myself out of this by changing the way that I talk to myself about my hobbies and my interests and the things that I want to do. And by making those shifts, I was able to focus my energy, and I was able to be a happier person, a genuinely happier person who has the courage to go after the things the way that I want to. And this is one of those things. This right here, me talking to you, is one of those things. You asked me 2 years ago, Kaval, are you gonna do? You're gonna sit in a garden with a podcast mic, people walking on and off, staring at you, children playing, turtles walking towards you, birds flying behind you. Are you gonna do that? No. Because I was protecting. In my head, I was like, no, I'm not that person. And so once you change that narrative, the way that you talk to yourself about your hobbies and your passions and the things you want to do, you get to decide that narrative. And you get to decide it in a way that you want to do things. And the more action you take then, the more that narrative develops. And so you have to reframe the way that you think about your hobbies. If you have not been able to keep up with one hobby, then I'll give you an example. And if you're feeling guilty about it, if you keep on jumping from one thing to the other one, and then you meet a friend or your family members or anyone, they're like, oh, what about the thing that you started? And you're like, I stopped doing it. I found something else that I'm working on now. In a way that you can reframe that is that you look at these as little experiments. And I didn't come up with this. I heard about this in an Ali Abdal video. And so I think this blends really well together with this idea of creating your... Now my foot is asleep. Can coffee wake up my foot? I have coffee. This is bad. I got this coffee from the vending machine. It's a robot made my coffee. I love robots. Are the robots listening in? Oh, I love AI and all the robots. And so the way that you can talk to yourself with truth, nothing but the truth, that you were experimenting with something for a limited amount of time. Maybe you gave yourself 4 weeks to start learning tap dancing, I don't know, learning graphic design, that's more practical. So you were learning graphic design. So people are now asking you, what happened with that graphic design thing that you were learning? Why were you doing it? What happened? Are you still pursuing that? And you go, no, I was just experimenting. I've picked up a few skills that I'm sure I can use with my podcast that I'm planning to start. And that's the next thing that I'm working on. So I can work on my poster, I can work on my podcast promotion and blah. And so you're layering your skills one on top of the other, and you will eventually find your thing. You will eventually find the one or two things that help you combine your interest and a better focus. This brings me to lesson number 3, is to be cunning like a fox and bold like a lion. An effective leader should and must be bold, but also be cunning to outsmart your enemies, right? And so I want to break this into a strategy. So when you're going to approach your multi-passions with a little bit of brain, I know you got some, you're smart, you're subscribed. I know people who are not very smart have not subscribed yet. You're not one of them. So I was just waiting for you to click the button in case you weren't as smart as I thought you were, but I'm glad you are. So lesson number 3, be a lion and be a fox when needed. Let's be the fox first. So the way you're going to get strategic with your multiple passions, and I'm going to just assume a few of your interests here. Let's say You are someone who wants to start your own podcast into food and nutrition, and you are also someone who has done personal coaching and training for people in the gym, let's say, right? And so what you're going to do, instead of starting a podcast about your life as a full-time, I don't know, what's your full-time job? Your full-time job as a software engineer or in the IT world, you work with the robots. So what you would do is you would create a podcast where you would talk about health, fitness, nutrition as a full-time robot friend, as a tea professional who finds the time, create healthy recipes, and you talk about that with different people that you have tried them on as a personal trainer. You see what I did there? Smarts, Dr. Kamal Hassan. So that's one way to be a fox and be strategic with your interest. Another way, you see, I got another idea. Another way you can be smart and strategic with multiple interests is put a time limit on it. Be like, I'm going to experiment with this for 4 weeks, and I'll learn as much as I want to, and then I'll move on to the next thing. What you're doing here, you're being very intentional, and you're being strategic with your time, because you're not going to be like, oh, I wasted 6 weeks doing this and I didn't do anything. I didn't become a full-time podcaster. I have no collab emails and crickets everywhere. A turtle is staring at me. Hi, turtle. So that's the way to be strategic and cunning. Now, lion. When you step into this lion persona, whatever you have decided as a fox, you're going to action. You have to be bold. You have to be loud. You have to stand behind your message, and you have to stand for yourself. There is no other brand ambassador. You are your ambassador for yours. In whatever you do, approach it like a sher ka bachcha. Really. So whatever you have decided, your strategy, you have it all figured out. Don't budge. You complete that time limit even if you have crickets on the other end of your podcast. You're building something. And you're creating proof for yourself. I'll tell you something, off track. We love going off track. Off tracks are the best places. The way that you find courage like a lion is by doing things your way. I'm going to pat myself on the back for doing things my way here. And the more you build that courage by doing things your way is your power as a multi-passionate person. The reason there's a lot of noise around this multi-passionate and being a generalist and all of that is because that makes you stand apart from something else, from all the experts in one field. And the reason I'm focusing so much on blending all of this together is because that's where you are. And no one else can be you. I'm going to scream at you now. I have security coming my way. I didn't do anything wrong. Did anyone call the robots? I didn't break any rules, Mr. IT professional. But hey, I'm talking to the girls too. Where are my girl bosses, girly girls? I've seen a lot of girls and a lot of guys in their 40s especially struggling with this as I meet more people in my real life, battling with this whole being a multi-passionate person but not finding the time or the focus or the energy to do everything. You don't have to do everything right now, and that's the one thing that helped me. And so I want to help you build a funnel of your passions and your interest, and then funnel that into one outlet. Find out your output. What is the output that you want to make with all of the skills that you have already learned? Maybe you need to put a little pause on the learning part and start creating something with what you know. And once you see the fruit of what your skills and your passions and your interests can create, once you see that physical thing, you're gonna get addicted to it. You're gonna be like, I want to do more of this because this is all of me. When you see all of your interests and your passions and all of the things that you love coming together into something, even if no one in the world cares, you're gonna smile to yourself about it. And so I want to thank Mr. Machiavelli, who lived hundreds of years ago, for coming into my life. And now I've brought him to your life. He was a cool guy. Murdered, I think. Don't know. And I hope that you'll think about these things. And I hope that you're going to write a few things to find some clarity with the 3 key lessons if you're still here. I want you to write down 3 interests and passions, 2 of which you have learned or worked on, and 1 that nudges you at night before you fall asleep. And I want to know what it is, and then I'll tell you mine. Thank you so much for watching. This is the third time I recorded this video, but I did it. Okay, thank you, bye.